Korea, Japan, Laos, the collapse of the simp economy, the explosion of the pleasure industry, the refusal of men to marry, work double, or take on debts they will never be able to pay, all of this shows that we are not just witnessing a social phenomenon, we are witnessing a structural revelation.
Yo, what's good? It's your guy, Flossy, letting you know what's up on what's going down. Go ahead, hit that like button for your boy. So I am a man that just loves to learn about new things, new places from new people. I like to read up, research, all that kind of stuff, man. And I came across what's going down in South Korea. And I tell you, it's the exact same things going on over there that's going on over here when it comes to love, dating, and relationships. Apparently, there's a new breed of men out there that are savages. They not crying about a girlfriend, wife, family. Nah, they like, I'm just here to smash. And if you mention anything about a relationship, I'm gone, which is pretty contrary to traditional Asian culture. So it's throwing the game off for a lot of women out there. So this is pretty interesting.
In South Korea, if you tell a lower class man that he can't afford meat or fruit, he will probably lower his head and stay silent. But if you tell him he is sexually repressed, he might throw 2 punches at you on the spot.
Damn, they said you could call me broke, but you best not say I don't think about coochie.
Because after the collapse of the so-called simp economy, Korean men did not become sexually repressed. In fact, they collectively entered an era of sexual excitement and liberation never seen before. For example, in Seoul's famous bar district, every night you can see countless Korean guys dressed more carefully than the women themselves, covered in luxury brands, designer bags, Vivienne Westwood bracelets, diamond earrings. They clearly work out, and they walk around approaching women everywhere. The bubbly tone in their voices is standard. They open with a sweet confession. "Hi, I've been watching you for a while. You're really beautiful. Are you a model? Can I have your number?" Women approached by them, if they want to, can easily start a sweet short romance with these oppa. But the deadline is usually 1 day. If the girl shows any intention of a long-term relationship or even marriage, these oppas instantly block all her contacts. They vanish at the speed of light. This is what happens with the new generation of Korean men who, after the collapse of the simp economy, went through a kind of self-liberation.
Well, damn. So when they talk about the collapse of the simp economy, a simp, the definition is, a man that gives a woman his time, attention, and resources for nothing in return. You know what I'm saying? Just all give. And I guess the men out there got tired of being used and abused and just said, I ain't gonna do it no more. Stop spending that bread, giving that time and attention. And they call it the simp economy collapse.
拒绝好吃懒做，拒绝彩礼，拒绝房子、车子加名字，拒绝一切不合理。做真男人不做舔狗。
And what those women were once getting in abundance has become scarce.
You women are on your way to becoming professional defaulters. The data shows that nowadays men simply don't want to spend money on women anymore. In 2025, Valentine's Day spending plunged by 45%. Men are no longer blindly throwing money at women.
And they're becoming more desperate, which puts the leverage back in the hands of the men. And now they're like, okay, we got the leverage. All you getting is this hard schlong and bubblegum. If that. I don't want no marriage or nothing. I'm just going to give you this hard schlong because, when I wanted all that, you was trying to play me and just use me for my money. Resources, time, attention, because you had so many options of suckers. And also traditionally, the pressure is put on a man to sacrifice in order to provide. But now it's different. So they basically did a whole factory reset on the market.
Total deresponsibilization and complete rejection of marriage. They refuse to take on family responsibilities. They don't want to buy a house or a car. Every cent they earn is invested in enhancing their own male attractiveness. And they do this without any guilt while engaging in adult content. Of course, for many Korean men, instead of investing in appearance and flirting, it's simply easier to go straight to prostitution. They believe that with low wages, sky-high housing prices, and rising dowries, there is no longer any way to build long-term intimate relationships with women. So they choose to simply quit the game, lie flat socially, and become seven-spotted ladybugs, enjoy each day as if it were the last. That's why, after the collapse of the simp economy, the sex industry in Korea exploded. But here comes the question. Why, after the collapse of the simp economy, did Korean men not become repressed, but instead hyperstimulated? To understand this, we need to know how sexual repression is created. In short, the state and the capitalists work together to endlessly increase the cost for lower-class men to access the marriage market. Countless young men need to buy a house, a car, pay high dowries, not to mention the wedding party, the ceremony company, the photos. And the state and capital collect tax after tax at each step. Just the sale of land alone is enough to allow certain elites to live comfortably, drinking tea and reading the newspaper in their offices, while the cost of this comfort is taking every cent from poor families and from men at the base of society. But when Korean men woke up, they began spending all their money only on themselves, regaining control of their own consumption. And they ended up discovering something shocking. The cost of accessing sexual resources is absurdly low. So low that many Korean women, unable to obtain security through marriage, began to capitalize their own bodies.
So they were like, yo, between the government and these gold diggers, the game is rigged. So the young men started concentrating on themselves, spending money on themselves. So that's less money that's spent on the women. And the more desperate and harder times get for those women, the easier it is for those guys to access those sexual resources for half the cost. Oh, the game is cold. That's like freak nasty capitalism or something.
The capitalization of Korean women is extreme sexualization, through cosmetic procedures and makeup, transforming their bodies into visual capital to meet the growing sexual excitement of men. The same thing happened in Japan. During the bubble era, extreme feminism was dominant. Each Japanese woman had 3 simps. One who gave her money, one who served as her driver, and one who carried her bags. When Japanese men decided to lie flat, reject expensive marriages, and, to avoid false accusations, even pushed women out of the job market, the results appeared. More and more Japanese women realized that they either worked in precarious temporary jobs or ended up on the streets of Okubo Park. So, when Japanese men realized that by working half a shift at a convenience store they could be intimate with a woman barely in her 20s, sexual repression naturally disappeared.
Whoo, damn, yo. So basically, they like, yo, what's the point of me spending this money on dowries and expensive marriages and all this, working my ass off, when I could just relax, not be bothered, and when I want to smash something, I could get me a little 20-something-year-old Betty for the price of my lunch break money. If that's really the mentality of most of these men, that's definitely not going to be conducive to building families and reproducing. Man, it's even getting ugly in these international streets. Wow, man. But I want to hear what y'all think about this. I thought this was a interesting one I came across. Love reading y'all thoughts. Like, comment, subscribe. Hope you have a beautiful day. Till next time, baby, I'm out.